I don't think that it's hyperbolic or overly dramatic to say that I have been sick to my stomach every day for 2 weeks straight. Every day. I have been sick to my stomach as we continue to learn more and more about the horrors of the pogrom waged on innocent men, women, and children on Simchat Torah. I have been sick to my stomach watching friends and neighbors contextualize that pogrom. To see them, yes, but that pogrom, or even disgustingly celebrate that pogrom as an act of liberation and rebellion. I have been sick to my stomach watching media outlets peddling Hamas propaganda, instantly believing anything that comes from the mouths or fingertips of terrorists, but calling into question and casting doubt on any statement or concern coming from Israeli citizens, organizations, and government. I have been sick to my stomach listening to the silence, the palpable silence, as Jewish babies and toddlers, the elderly, Holocaust survivors are held hostage, enduring things I can't bring myself to even think about because I would not be able to ever stop crying. And while this, yes, is quite a litany, there is still one thing more that I just absolutely cannot palate. And it fills me with so much anger, so much sadness and fear that I have to talk about it this morning, and I need to say it as clearly and as forcefully as possible. Because nothing has been more despicable in all of this than the deliberate co-opting of pain and grief for the validation or expression of another person or group's cause or identity. Let me explain what I mean. I don't need to tell anyone in this room or joining us at home that the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians is old, is complicated, and is indescribably painful. Indescribably painful for Israelis, and yes, for Palestinians, for Jews, for Muslims, and for anyone caught in the middle. We know what this violence is about, because it has not changed for nearly a century. Zionist Jews believe in their heart of hearts in Jewish determinism and the right to return to our ancestral homeland. Palestinians believe in their heart of hearts that that determinism has come at their expense. And while some truly and fervently believe in a two-state solution where both peoples can live side by side with their own rightful claim to live in their land in peace, many believe that as long as Jewish autonomy requires the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people, that it's unacceptable and cannot be allowed to exist. Of course, there's a lot more nuance than that, but that is what this long and horrific conflict is all about. But if you go to the People's Republic of Ireland and ask Free Palestine protesters what they're protesting, they will tell you immediately in no uncertain terms that they're protesting Israel because they're protesting British colonialism. And see in the image of quote-unquote resistance the plight of the Irish people and their fight for liberty in the early 1900s. And if you go to the official organizational pages of Black Lives Matter, not the grassroots solidarity for the rights of Black Americans and people of color, but the official movement pages, you will see that when they chant from the river to the sea, that they see terror against Israeli civilians as a symbolic fight against white supremacy and racism, completely ignoring the fact that over half of Israel's population is made up of Arab Jews and Muslims. And Jews of color from northern and eastern Africa also make up a sizable percentage of our population. And when you ask those who wave banners reading Socialists for Palestine, Anarchists for Palestine, Queers for Palestine, what they're supporting, they will, with few exceptions, pontificate that the resistance of Hamas is a fight for their cause. The current through all of this is allegory, taking a conflict that is very personal and painful to so many and making it about something else entirely. In this narcissistic expression of virtue and justice, innocent Jewish life is not life at all. It is capitalism, homophobia, white supremacy, colonialism, and even the ghosts of enemies from centuries ago. And one does not weep when homophobia is murdered. One does not bat an eye when white supremacy is held hostage. It takes away our humanity, and it turns us not just into a thing, an idea, a representation, but a detestable thing, a detestable idea, a detestable representation. But it also dehumanizes Palestinians. Because in that same narcissistic expression of virtue and justice, Palestinian life is stripped away from its story, from its history, from its very real pain and trauma and struggle, and is instead reduced to a symbol of universal oppression and marginalization. It takes away humanity. And the irony of it all, especially when it comes from the far left, is that it is unquestionably racist, bigoted, and hateful against Jews and against Palestinians. Hamas has called this war the flood of Al-Aqsa. And it has been. It has been a flood of unspeakable horrors and tragedies, a flood of hate and violence. But I don't think any of us, Jews or Muslims alike, were prepared for the flood of the world at large, using us as objects, as tools, as symbols, as propaganda. But here we are. And the floodwaters are rising by the hour. But in our people's tradition, both in Judaism and in Islam, we know what to do when there is a flood. Both in the Quran and in the Torah, there is the story of Noah, who sees the world around him filled with evil, with hate, with dehumanization, and somehow does not succumb to the wickedness. And strikingly, in the Quran, not only does Noah not give in to the evil of the world, he actively preaches against it, rebuking the inhabitants of the world for their shameful behavior. In both stories, Noah is saved by rising above it, by building an ark, defying the waters of the flood, maintaining humanity as the world drowns in hate. The floodwaters are rising, and they will continue to rise. The hate isn't going anywhere. The dehumanization, the bigotry, the racism, the anti-Semitism, the Islamophobia will grow deeper by the day. But we have a choice. Right now, as Jews, we have a choice. We have a choice to succumb to the flood, to dive into those waters and find ourselves lost within the waves of arrogance and allegory, or we can build an ark where we work tirelessly day in and day out to not only rise above the waters, but to actively fight against the storm that rages before us. And that means to call out dehumanization wherever it exists. It means standing up to virtue signaling bullies and letting them know that Jews and Muslims, Israelis and Palestinians are people, are human beings, and not political pawns for culture wars that have nothing to do with the pain and trauma of our people's homelands. It means standing against hate that is carried out in the name of Islam or Palestine. And it means emphatically and unwaveringly condemning Islamophobia and anti-Arab hate wherever it exists. Because as Jews, we will not stand by and let people carry out atrocities, pure evil, in our name or in the name of Israel. Full stop. We have our differences. We are struggling. Our hearts are broken. Our anger, our frustration, they're real. But you better believe that we will stand side by side against bigotry in all of its shapes and forms. We mourn for Wadea al-Fayoum, for the innocent boy, 6 years old, viciously murdered by an absolute monster in Illinois, and we wish his family healing and comfort in their brokenness. We condemn in the strongest possible terms any violence, any hate, any dehumanization carried out against innocent Muslims or Arabs here or anywhere. And to echo the word of President Biden, if you are thinking about spreading your hate and using Judaism or Israel as an excuse, don't. Don't. Your hate does not speak for us. Your violence is yours alone. We are people. We are not justifications. We are not excuses. We are not opportunities. People. Human beings. The waters are rising, and my friends, we all see them. We all feel them lapping at our ankles and begging us to give in and let ourselves be swept away. We can't. We can't be swept away. Not today. Not ever. To say Am Yisrael Chai, to say that the Jewish people lives, means that we live above the flood. That together we build an ark of resistance, of rationalism, of sanity, of humanity. That while bigotry and hate rain down, we will keep floating onward to our mission of peace, of love, of seeing the spark of the divine in all of God's children. And for anyone who uses their voice to build rather than destroy, who marches for the dignity of life rather than the politicization and reductionism of human beings, who yearns for peace and solution, rest assured, we have plenty of room on board. Plenty. Every day I am sick to my stomach because I see unspeakable hate and cruelty, and it shatters me to my core. I am sick to my stomach because I feel alone and betrayed. I'm sick to my stomach because the thought of more innocent Jews or Muslims losing their lives, their homes, their hope crushes me. I am sick to my stomach because I feel, because I mourn, because I'm human. Because I'm human. We are humans. Jews, Muslims, Israelis, Palestinians. We are humans. Not ideas, not allegories, not props for your cause. And despite your best efforts, we won't let you pull us into your flood. It is the hate, it is the dehumanization that will drown us. But the Jewish people won't succumb. The Jewish people floats on. Am Yisrael Chai. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.